welcome into the League of Extraordinary GMs podcast. Tonight we have Chatham and myself, Warren. I believe Ruck is sleeping again. Good for him. I don't know how he does it. But yeah, it's two of us tonight, buddy. How you doing?
I am well. And to your point about Ruck, I don't know how he sleeps so well. I sleep like a fucking terrible bird. It's like 7 minutes at a time.
How was your weekend?
Weekend was awesome. We had 1,000 kid things. I got certified as a soccer referee because if we didn't have enough volunteer hours, my son's second place team wouldn't make the playoffs. And I got to go to an actual football game, which is super fun. I don't know the last time you went to an actual football game. I got to see the Rams Cardinals, and the Cardinals suck. The Rams aren't good either. Cooper Kupp is amazing. But I am blown away at how poorly I am managing my fantasy football teams. I have my work league where I drafted CMC first overall, and I have come in second in my work league. They're dumb, like 100 times. I've never won it. I have the most points, and yet all I needed was for Fields to put up 7 points this weekend, and I lost that. And the same thing happened with my college team, and those are leagues I want to win. And our league, to make my team better, I want to lose. And I keep fucking that up. So, yeah. My fantasy life is terrible.
You signed up to get yelled at more. You went somewhere where you could yell at others.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I went to Vegas with Eric and Ryan and Dennis and Graham and Ryan's buddy Daniel. I don't know why we always go for 3 nights. That's way too much. I just remember coming home because we went down Thursday and came home early Sunday morning. And I just remember coming home late Friday night just thinking, is there a flight tonight? Like, can I just get the heck out of here and go home?
Yeah.
Just so done. And that third day, Saturday, is just like nobody wants to be there. Everybody's looking for flights. It's like $280 to change our flights. And we just said, let's all just go spend $280 instead. That's what we did.
Yeah.
We had a good time, though.
We're old, man.
Friends.
To more than 48 hours in really anywhere right now. I'm like, I'm starting to get cranky. I got to yell. I just want to yell at a kid, like my own, obviously.
I can't even imagine the next time I'll be remotely interested in drinking alcohol. It's not going to be anytime soon.
I say that every day. Every morning I'm like, God, it's really hard to teach hungover today, and then I nail it and do it again.
Although I did see on my wife's weekly planner on the fridge that I'm hosting 6 children Saturday night, which I don't remember her verbally informing me of. That was probably on Friday night at some point.
Yes.
Well, I was in Vegas, but I'm not remembering.
Dude, speaking of Vegas,
maybe then.
We were just talking about when my mom sold the winery.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it happened at Warren's bachelor party.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to remember that was it was Callie's first dance recital. And so we left about at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I think I left early to just taxi back to get my stuff. And that same guy took me to the airport, and my first ever Instagram post is a picture of Cece and me, and I am a quarter of a human being.
It's definitely different these days.
Yeah, it's not similar.
Well, tonight, tis the season for some fun Halloween gimmicks. So let's do some Dynasty Trick or Treat. We're gonna go through each team, talk through some unfortunate tricks and maybe some surprising treats for each team so far this season, and maybe have a little fun with that.
Right after this.
Let's just jump. So we'll go from top to bottom, as is the honor of the leader. Let's make fun of Nick first. So I'm going to lead off here so that we land on each other's teams further down. So a couple tricks on Nick's team. So as we rebalanced the league, we actually gave Nick 2 first-round picks. because he was super old. So we're like, here you go. You can have Albert's 106, and I don't remember whose 109, 110 we gave him. I think it was from me. And so he picked QJ and Charbonnet, respectively, and both have been a little tricky. So first off, with Charbonnet, I would compare him to like a really bad batch of witch's brew. You know, in college, like when you start drinking mixed cocktails, you think like, oh, this is gonna be great. I just mix a whole bunch of stuff together and it's gonna taste really good, and all you taste is vodka. Like, oh, just add more juice, it'll get better. No, it just keeps getting worse. So yeah, that's what I compare Charbonnet to. He's like a bowl of crappy Chardonnay at a Halloween party.
Every time you walk by the Charbonnet at the party, you're like, no, this time it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
it looks so good. I'm gonna start this one this week.
Yeah, maybe put some dry ice in it or something. Then people will drink it.
Right.
But you know, the one thing that you can be optimistic about with Charbonnet, which you know I'm also optimistic about JSN in the same regard, right, is that Pete Carroll never has really used his rookies much, even first rounders. So maybe his role expands next year. But he's also the same age as Kenneth Walker, so it's also hard to imagine him supplanting Kenneth Walker. So next up is QJ. He's like a scarecrow.
Yeah.
Except he's not outstanding in his field. He's just out there standing on the field. The dude just can't get open. I mean, he's not going to get the ball. Herbert's not going to throw him the ball if he can't get open. If he's just standing on the field, he's not going to get the ball.
Yeah.
You watching that game last night against Cowboys, Josh Palmer looked great. You know, he looked like an elite wide receiver. He's getting open, just grabbing everything thrown his way. I think he had a one-handed catch behind him, another one down below him to his left. So it doesn't look like it's happened for QJ this year. But, you know, time will tell. There's some old dudes in front of him.
Yeah,
eventually.
But one of the old dudes is out, and they literally need exactly his body type. Right? It's like, oh, but we drafted a guy who's the same as. It's weird, and it's like there's so many examples. I was listening to footballers today. There's so many examples of like when a rookie gets a shot nowadays, last 5-6 years. If the rookie doesn't take advantage of the shot, it's a real short-lived career. I mean, so I don't hope that. More for Nick than huge.
Yeah, they used to say third-year breakout for wide receiver, right? It seems like that timeline has moved up quite a bit. Well, let's not just trash on Nick's team. Let's give him some treats. One of the most surprising players in the league this year is Raheem Mostert, as is the entire Dolphins offense. Mostert's like that bowl of king-size candy bar that's just sitting outside the house, and they just like left for the night, and they're just like, here you go, help yourself. But you really only need one. I mean, it doesn't matter what else you have on your team. If you have a king-size candy bar, then that's all you need.
Yeah,
you win every week with that guy right now.
Yeah, dude. I mean, one of my buddies in a league, he has Thielen, who I think is 32, 33, and Mostert.
Yeah,
he put up 80 points.
Yeah,
two guys. Like you from that, you could have teeny tiny bite-sized candy bars, and you're going to put up 120 and beat everyone every week. Mostert, it's so cool how good he is right now. I mean, what was it, 38 this week or something like that? Like,
yeah, it's
he has 11 touchdowns. 11 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
That's unbelievable.
For 6 games.
Yeah.
Well, let's roll on to Ross's teams. You want to lead off on this one?
Yeah. So Ross's biggest trick is one that is breaking my soul, because I have been a proponent of T. Higgins for a long time. And, as you walk up to a house and you're like, oh, they got red vines. I love red vines. And then they hand you fucking Twizzlers. And you're like, that tastes like doggy poo. It is just plastic, charading as delicious red vines. And I get that he's been hurt, but he put up that second week where I forget what he had exactly. I think it was 28-29, half point. but he's been open. The first week he went over 8, and the second week or the third week it was really similar. It's not exactly going to get better for T. Higgins anytime soon, and that sucks because he's a top 15 wide receiver, and you expect him to at minimum have 28, 30-point games, and then a 2, but then right back to that 28, 30-point. Maybe he won't be the consistent guy that you see as like an 8, 9 that puts up, 14, 18, 20 each game. One good game all season.
It'll be really interesting to see. I highly doubt that the Bengals sign him to a long-term contract, right? And so he's going to get paid somewhere.
Right. And he should. I mean, he's really good.
But it'll be interesting to see if he really is an alpha or if he's just a beta that's been thriving in beta coverage.
Yeah, it's super true, especially since he's such a deep ball guy. I mean, you don't see a lot of the same routes that oh my gosh, what's his name? Brown, AJ Brown. You see a lot of deep balls, a lot of 50-50 balls that he wins because he's a stud.
Well, maybe he should go to San Diego and take Mike Williams' spot.
I was going to ask, where do you think he goes? Well, where do you think he goes? Because, at the end of the season, think of the teams that don't have an elite wide receiver, and you've got, the Giants. They really need an elite wide receiver. But
Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina. But, I mean, the Chargers would be incredible. Yeah. I think it would really work in his favor. So, and then – the treat for him, and this is amazing because we've talked about this a number of times. DeAndre Swift, where did he come from? He was out and done, and Jamal Williams was the one who took 22 touchdowns from him last year and parlayed that into a top 10 running back, and Swift got cut. And he got traded and damn near got cut. I'm going with Junior Mints. That's what I'm going with.
I can see you reading the show doc.
Yeah.
You're going to try and pull this together while talking.
No, I'm not going with Warren. Warren went with a different candy. A Junior Mint, when you're walking out of the restaurant, you're like, that's a delicious meal. I didn't know I needed a Junior Mint. Yeah. And you grab that one and you win.
Yeah, so nobody picks the Junior Mints, but every time you have one, you're happy.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you're on. You're next.
All right, Tommy's team. As we already mentioned, Tommy has the other old guy in Adam Thielen. So that's the treat we've got for Tommy's team. Adam Thielen's like this. So, you're really young and you've got this neighbor, this elderly couple that lives next door, and it's Halloween, and your parents make you go visit their house so that they can see the kids. And you're like, oh, God, this is not going to be good. And then you walk in and this nice old lady hands you some amazing homemade candy. And it's actually the best thing you've had all year. So, yeah, Adam Thielen is like Mrs. Raggio's homemade candy that she used to hand out to us when we lived on Sonora Street. Yep. It's amazing, and I will never forget those white chocolate little ghosts she made. They were awesome. Just like Adam Thielen, who's now the wide receiver 5 on the season.
Unbelievable. I think he's number 2 since week 2. Yeah.
Yeah, it does kind of show you there's hope for Bryce Young, right? If he's got someone who can get open, he can get him the ball.
Yeah. And Bryce Young is getting better. All right. Any tricks for Tom?
Yeah, so Tommy's trick has been his QB streaming abilities, which I think has been his plague for a decade. So for Tommy, picking a quarterback each week has been the Birdie's Bots beans from Harry Potter. The ones where you pop them in your mouth and you don't know if it's going to be yum, cherry flavor, or whoa, it's vomit. So that's kind of what Tommy's dealing with every week. Week 1, he played Fields. Obviously you're going with a rushing quarterback. It's a solid floor. Both Cousins and Love outscores him by 10 points.
Yep.
Week 2, Fields again. Cousins outscores him by 20 points. So week 4 now, I jumped week 3 because he actually chose one of the weeks.
Yep.
Decides to switch to Cousins. but Fields outscores him by 20 points.
Right.
Week 5, sticks with Cousins. He's like, all right, that's a one-off. I'm going to just stay. I'm going to hold. This is going to work. Fields outscores him by 20 points again. So now week 6, he's got to get it right this time, right?
Yeah.
So he's like,
it was easy.
1 out of 5. He's 20% hit rate on his quarterback so far.
And they're playing each other, right?
5.
Yep. Minnesota.
Oh, there
Chicago.
it is. That's hilarious.
So good.
Yeah. So he's like, no, I'm I'm going with Fields.
The guy on fire. Lightning
Fields
sport on fire.
gets hurt, and as Chatham alluded to in his intro, doesn't even score 7 points. Yeah. All right, you're up.
All right, so we're on to your team. I feel like so with your trick, it's definitely Javonte, and I think it starts with all sorts of things. One, you drafted him well. You wouldn't trade him when they were like, I'm gonna dangle this, and you're like, no, that ACL. It's like guys come back, and then all of the news out of the Denver training camp was like, this dude is in front of the ball. He's ready to roll. He's ready to crush it. And he has been goddamn terrible. They almost replaced him with, what's the guy's name?
McLaughlin.
Oh, with McLaughlin. Oh my God.
Or are you talking about P. Ryan?
No. I was talking about McLaughlin. I just confused the McLaughlin guy and the DeMario Ario guy also, who was last week's. Because the point is, anyone is better than Javonte Williams, who was a stud coming out and really kind of sexy. Caught the ball, really shifty, was on the field all the time. And as a candy, you're I think my favorite candies when you're going through are a Sour Patch, something that's got a little bit of a kick to it, but not bad. And then you get a Smarties. And you're like, God, I love Smarties. And you have 2, and you're like, I fucking hate Smarties. And maybe you even throw them at kids. I kind of do that as we walk around a neighborhood. I'm like, I don't like these. I don't like that kid. And I feel like you're in that situation where this is a lost year for Javonte. I mean, hopefully not a lost year, because he did actually play okay last week. We made it so that McLaughlin didn't actually take his job. But man, it really could turn into a lost year because the Denver team is a hot mess. So, I mean, it could be a lost year for Denver, which is for Javonte, and that's just a bummer because, again, Tommy conned you into playing for real this year, and you end up like that.
Yeah.
But to your treats, I think yours is the best treat because you have been riding high on Miami for 2+ years now since that signing. And I mean, everybody was out on H-Inc. And I traded you Tua because he's left-handed. And we all know left-handed people worship the devil. And it is just, as everyone in the industry says, you follow the best offense. And this offense is so freaking fun. It's like you said, you got that big piece of candy. This is like a door's open and no one's home. And it's like, come in, take our things. Yeah, you've got Tua, HN, all things Mike McDaniel, and you are on board. And it is, it's the reason you're going to compete this year in a year you don't want to. So if you make the playoffs and HN comes back, I for real think you could win this.
Yeah.
With a 7-6, maybe 8-5 getting into the playoffs. And you could easily have an HN into the season 50-point game and Nick and Tommy and Ross's super teams God damn it.
Yep. Yeah, I know. That's why credit to you was a pulling around a wagon full of adult beverages on Halloween night for all the parents to get drunk. And that's what Mike McDaniel is to fantasy managers. And so that's why I'm going to dress up as Mike McDaniel on Halloween and pull around a wagon full of adult beverages and get all the parents drunk on a Tuesday.
I love it so much. I love it so much.
Anyway, enough happy talk. Let's talk about your team. All right. So Chatham, as he alluded to earlier, has no business winning a single game,
No.
but is now sitting in 5th place with 3 wins. Chatham's team is defying all of the Halloween superstitions and defeating all of the Halloween challenges, if you will. So in week 2, he saw a black cat, and normally like, oh no, something's going to go wrong. But no, he beat me, who was currently in tank mode at the time, by 0.3 points.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, yes, I got the lead on Chatham. Week 4, he walks through a scary cemetery on Halloween night, but somehow managed to beat Albert's team by 1.5 points, giving Albert the lead in the Marvin Harrison Jr. sweepstakes. And then in week 6, he's like, all right, let me try a different challenge. So he went bobbing for apples, which nobody can win bobbing for apples unless you cheat.
Just to get herpes.
There. Yeah. So he came up with not 1, but 2 apples. And he was able to beat Ryan by a whopping 8 points this past week. So he's now, like I said, 3 wins, sitting in 5th place. But he only has 1 more point than Albert does, who is a clear last place in the league.
Yep. And my point against Albert has had people score 614 points again.
Yeah.
I've had people score 630 points again.
Yeah.
So
somehow those 3 weeks.
Yeah. Albert's on 6. It's a clear and easy Marvin Harrison Jr. And I'm looking at like 0 for those awesome wide receivers and having to choose Caleb Williams at like the 5 and being like, I fucking hate Dynasty.
Yeah, your team is like in the South Park episode where all of the little kids' baseball teams are trying to lose their little league game. So because they're like in the playoffs and they can't go and enjoy summer until their little league season ends. So like keep advancing in the Little League World Series because all the teams are trying to lose so bad they like accidentally get themselves out and things like that. And South Park kids just keep on winning because they're not as good at losing as the other team. So that's what I feel like your team is like you're really bad at losing.
Yeah, it's not good. No, it's all bad. Okay, on to Ryan.
Speaking of the future being sad, now it's time for the past.
Good God. So Ryan's team. If we look at Ryan's team, we said this last week, right? I think I used these damn fingers. It was Mahomes and Barkley and Evans and Thomas and Hopkins. Poor Hopkins. Now he doesn't have Tannehill. Who's going to throw him the ball? Like Henry and Kelsey and all these guys who are our age and children don't know who Travis Kelsey is until Taylor Swift. And the analogy that you made was like every year you watch as a teacher on Halloween because on the November 1st, because who shows up to school on November 1st? They're drunk because they're drunk. And maybe it's candy, maybe not. And so you're like, I'm going to put on the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And every year, like, this movie is just so adorable and good. And everyone's going to use it, love it. And then about 20 minutes in, you have given 15 detentions. There are only 10 kids in the class. And you're like, the kids sucked. No, the movie sucks. Like, that's really what it comes down to. It's just not good anymore. It was good when it had its heyday, but we have things like Pixar since. And it's just amazing that poor Ryan, like,
old and sad.
Yeah, Ryan's team was so great. I think last year,
he won. Like when it wasn't his team.
It wasn't his team, and I don't think we anticipated that. I think poor Ryan ended up in a situation. Drop. It happened so fast. Yeah. And really, the only thing he's got to look forward to is he didn't make a stupid trade for Brian Robinson. That was smart. I was pissed at the time because I was like, dude, you need a guy, but he's not competing. And he has Jimmy's pick. So, like, it's gonna work out for him. Ryan, welcome to Dynasty failure. And there are a couple of us in it. I'm here with you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Speaking of Jimmy's team, let's talk about Ruck and Jimmy's team together because I feel like these two are kind of in the same boat, right? We compared Ruck and Jimmy's team to like you're trick-or-treating in the best neighborhood in town. You've got great decorations, they got music, they've got full-size candy bars, maybe not king size, but still pretty good. And you're just loading up. You're like, oh man, this is great. This is great. But what you don't realize is that your bucket has a hole in it. All that sweet candy has just been dribbling out on the road behind you. And when you get home at the end of the night and you go look in your bucket, you've got nothing. And I feel like that's what these two teams are. Like just a bunch of awesome.
Yeah.
With nothing to show.
Set your lineup. You're going to win.
Oh, yeah.
Zeros.
Yeah. Yeah, we rebalanced the league, like trying to like, all right, Nick's team and Tommy's team are pretty old. We'll make them a tiny bit better because these two teams have a bunch of young studs and they're just, if we make them just as good, then they'll just dominate. Garbage. What the hell? I don't get it.
I don't either.
With Eric, with Burrow, Chase, Stevenson, Walker, Debo, Ayuk, Mixon, McLaurin, Burks. You can just keep going down the list.
Yeah. The bummer for Ruck is, I think Burrow and Chase are turning around, but they're on bye, and then they come out with dog poo. The assumption is that Chase has probably turned it around, right? And they're just going to force feed that. I think the thing I heard the other day was Burrow in the middle of last week's game, not this week's game, but last week's game. He was scrambling a bunch, and he was scrambling a bunch, and his coordinator in his ear was like, "Stop scrambling, man!" And he said in the presser, "I didn't listen to him." and then they go off, and he throws the ball 19 times to Chase, and you're like, "Well, that's what they're going to do. Like he's that good." Burrow is that good. But his next, I'm pretty sure, and I'll double check this in a sec, but I'm pretty sure it's San Francisco, Dallas. And so, like, you're toast. But then Stevenson has a great week this week, but like
San Francisco, Buffalo.
But like Stevenson might be on the worst offense in the NFL. And they're doing the worst things possible with his talent as a catcher.
Yeah.
Debo's hurt. Mixon's Washington throws it to everyone but the wide receivers. It's just weird. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and similarly with Jimmy's team, with Lamar, Jacobs, Pollard, Devontae Adams. Now he has Hopkins and Kelsey, Najee, Christian Watson, and again, just it's not coming together. Yeah. For like any of those guys.
Yeah. But still, we've talked about this. Not a trade situation.
No. Right? No, I think you just get a new bucket and you just head back to the same neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, hey, that was my fault. I should check the bottom of the bucket.
Yeah, give the kids some caffeine, some coffee. Yeah.
Ruck and Jimmy need to do a better job. They need to check the bottom of the bucket. Hey, you know what? Burrow's coming in the season with an ankle with a calf issue. I need to double check, double bucket it. It's easy.
Double bucket.
It's Ruck's fault. Yeah.
You know what's fun is they play each other this week. So one of those teams is going to be 2-5 after this week, and they're going to have to buckle down and just keep pushing. Neither one of them have their first pick next year. Like, what are you going to do? Go get it back from the tanking teams? Like, no,
just suck.
Just keep pushing.
Who do I play this week? If I win this week, I'm going to be so mad. I'm going to be so
You play Ross, so you're probably safe. You're currently projected at 37 points. So you must have a lot of buys going.
I've got my whole team on bye. Prescott on bye. Paul, Wilson, Gallup. Warren, can I leave these guys on bye? I don't even know if I have a whole team. I got to start Jordan Mason. Ooh, that could be a sneaker.
That could be a problem.
Dude, if I won with Jordan Mason,
that'd be hilarious.
He's so
he has like 4 touchdowns. Like 50 points.
So pissed.
Oh my God, that'd be hilarious.
All right. On to the penultimate team, Sam's team. So what I do love about Sam is, he's new to the squad, and when you're new to the squad, you just got to take lumps. I have 4 kids. I have a teenager who is meaner than me than a snake, and I don't understand because I'm a really nice dad. I've got a fifth grader and things matter, and a third grader. And then, you got these adorable little people. And what Sam doesn't understand is that little people shit their pants. so when the only fun thing about little people is the holidays. And so you get to like dress them up, and like she's gonna be Bowser. There's a reason I look like Super Mario, and it's because that's what I'm gonna be for Halloween. And just playing is fun, even when you're not that good. And I feel like that's where Sam is. He's got a bunch of players that he's like excited about, and his team could be really good because it's loaded with young dudes, man. Like, especially like with these young guys, like who knows, right? I mean, it's 1 week for Drake London, but that dude finally came on strong. He's so good. But London and Olave, I mean, they might be they're definitely two of the three best second-year wide receivers. We don't know about the quarterback situation because, Trevor Lawrence hasn't really made that jump. But Cook and Lamb and Pittman, it's a whole lot of positive. So he's just got to enjoy not sleeping and not being happy, but seeing the cuteness and being like, I'm going to come through. The other side of this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, like I tell all new parents, just like, remember, everything is just a phase. It all passes and it gets better.
Yeah.
All right. Last and certainly the least, Albert's team is like being a senior in high school on Halloween night. And not even a girl, where they probably do fun stuff. You're just a boy. And you're like, what the heck is the point? You're not even into like going out without a costume and the pillowcase and just getting free candy. You don't even care about that anymore. It's like, it's probably the most pointless holiday ever.
Yeah.
But next year in college, it's going to be the greatest holiday of your life. When you have that 101, you get Marvin Harrison Jr., and it's party on.
Yeah, I hate him.
But your team still sucks for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, but Marvin Harrison's so good. Did you watch the game 2 weeks ago when he won the game? I don't remember. It was like 10 catches and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, this week.
Yeah, it really is amazing how Ohio State. It really is incredible what they've done there and how bad of a coach Ryan Day is. I mean, the fact that they haven't done anything more. And yet they put out the number 1 receiver every freaking year. What's their quarterback coach? God, he used to be a wide receiver in the league. He'll be the coach soon. Because, I mean, Ryan Day is going to lose this week to Penn State. And then they'll lose to Michigan. And that'll be like 3 in a row, I think, to Michigan. And Ryan Day will be out. And that coach is going to be on that team. I'm so jealous.
Well, maybe you can get a Dunze. He certainly improved his draft capital on that near last play of the game on Saturday night.
That was awesome. I wasn't going to bring it up because Nick's still not happy about it.
Did you see that clip of some ESPN broadcaster with Harry, the mascot, where he's up there with Harry on stage, and he's like, "We got to bring the big Phoenix energy," just over and over. It's like, can you say that on ESPN? Really inappropriate.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing. Man. So the league's in good spots. I will say this: I would love some feedback. What people want to hear. Warren and I would do this for an hour anyway, recorded, and then we just share it amongst ourselves, and that would be fine and very sexual. But if people have something they're looking for, that'd be awesome.
Maybe we, since Eric is like one of the biggest constraints on timing, only being available Mondays and Tuesday nights, and since he sleeps through half of them anyway, maybe we do one on a weekend night or a Sunday or something, and try and grab a couple people and have more of a collaborative chitter chatter. But yeah, like Chatham said, we're looking for some feedback and some engagement, right? That was the other purpose, was let's get the league involved. Let's help each other get better and have a good time with this.
Yeah, maybe we have a co-host a week or something like that. that shows up and, sounds way smarter than we do, or just way dumber, wants to talk about shit that you're like, okay, well we're going to talk about that this week.
Yeah.
That's fine. Back to the initial, which I don't think Warren, I don't know if you ever dropped the first one we did.
No.
The idea of this was just very simple. It's Warren and I have talked about this a lot. The concept of a league like ours, and Albert is a super proponent of this. Like, winning is fun and important, and like we're all competitive jerks, but not really. It's about community and bringing buddies together. And even this summer, Warren, I haven't told you this, but I brought in two of a college friend and then a coworker, and both of them were like, hey, the second we can get into that we're in, because just the fun of the texting and the banter and the dudes who are, knowledgeable enough, smart enough, but like, it's a community of people who care about each other and get to connect in ways that otherwise we can't, because our lives are so ridiculous.
Yeah, we're trying to cultivate what every person that plays fantasy football is trying to cultivate. Good place to have a good time. And with that, thanks for joining us on another episode of the League of Extraordinary GMs podcast. We'll be back next week, maybe with Ruck, maybe without, but we'll be here. And we'll see you then. Good night.